Okay, we're going to study two paragraphs today in the En Yaakob. And there's a certain relationship between the two paragraphs. So what I'm going to do is as follows. I'm first going to read the first paragraph, which is on the top of the page that I gave you. Amar Rabbi Hilbo, Amar Avuna, Hayoseh mibet haKnesset alef siyah b'siyah gasa. And then you see down on the same page, the very next paragraph, Amar Rabbi Hilbo, Amar Avuna, Kol mitpalel achorei bet haKnesset. Okay, these are the two topics. So I'm going to read them, I'm going to explain them, and then I'm going to go into the deeper meaning of what this is talking about. So let's start. Amar Rabbi Hilbo, Amar Avuna, Hayoseh mibet haKnesset alef siyah b'siyah gasa. When a person leaves Knis, he should not, his initial thing shouldn't be one of walking in a very, a quick manner. Amar Abaye, and Abaye, he makes a clarificatory comment. La amran ela lemipak. The issue with walking Knis, walking quickly from Knis, is only when you're leaving lemepak. Aval leme'al, but if you're walking towards the Knis, misva lemirhat. It's a misva to go quickly, right? So that's the basic idea. Basic idea is you're leaving the Knesset. I know sometimes people have to get to a meeting, sometimes people have to go to work, sometimes people have to get the kids. You have to understand between Jewish law, absolute Jewish law, and guidance. So I consider this a type of guidance. Meaning if a person, I don't know, the kid is waiting for you to get to the school bus and you don't make it, the kid is going to miss the school bus and then you got to, figure out what to do. Right, it's guidance, right?
But is it physically running or is it mentally?
It's physically running. It's physically running, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to explain why that is. But the point is, it's a general matter. When you leave Knis, the first 30 seconds, 45 seconds, even me, I'm always in a rush. But I try when I leave the Knis for the first 35, 45, 50 seconds, if I can, to walk slowly and not to go in a rush, which is what my default thing is always I'm in a rush, right? Don't. Shene'emar v'nede'ah. Nivdefa lada'at et Adonai. We want to attain knowledge of the Almighty, and we should be running to attain knowledge of the Almighty. So one would say, if I can use the thinking of Harambam, that the purpose of this world is to prepare us for the next world. Well, how do you get prepared for the next world? And the answer is, by attaining knowledge of the Almighty in this world, you have the zechut of getting a nice portion in the next world, right? And part of the experience of the Almighty in this world is the Bet HaMikdash, the Mishkan. We enter the Bet HaMikdash, or we enter the Mishkan in the days of the 40 years in the desert, and we have a certain experience of God that you can never have outside the Bet HaMikdash. One of the problems of living in Galut is that our experience of God here in the Galut is very limited. And that's why when people go to Israel, they're so happy. The reason, it's not just the nice weather, it's not just the nice food, it's not just, it's a nice society, but it's also the feeling that you feel a sense of closeness to the Almighty, and you feel a sense of connection that you don't have here, right? So the Bet HaMikdash was the ultimate. That was like being in the presence of God in Har Sinai. That was the ultimate. That was Bet HaMikdash. But outside, you have the Bet HaKnesset. So the Bet HaKnesset is the place where you can experience, to a certain level, the feeling of the Shekhinah. And that's why it says we're chasing, we want to have knowledge of God. That's in the Knis. So when you go to the Knis, you should be excited, in the sense that now I'm entering the Knis, it's a certain Kedusha. And when you leave the Knis, it should be a little more, how shall we say, circumspect. Imagine you just got to meet the President of the United States, you're excited, Donald Trump, you're running, you're all excited. When you leave the White House, don't run. Okay, gotta go now, bye, see ya, sayonara, right? It'd be disrespectful to the President, disrespectful to the White House staff. So similarly, when you leave the Knish, a little more circumspect. All right. We're going to explain that more deeply in a little while, but for now, let's continue.
So, the two rabbis,
no, Rabbi Hilbo was the Talmid of Rav Huna. Rav Huna was the Rosh Hashiva of Surah. Rabbi Hilbo was one of his Talmidim, and he transmitted many of these statements of Rav Huna were transmitted by Rabbi Hilbo. Okay, Amar Rabbi Zerah. Rabbi Zerah brings the following story, a personal experience that he had. Meresh, כי אהבה חזנה להו לרבנן דקהרהתה לפרקה בשבתה. I used to see the Hachamim, and on Shabbat, I used to see them running towards the Bet Midrash. So there was a shiur on Shabbat, of course. And I think my father tells me that when he was young, growing up, they used to have classes on Shabbat for the young kids. I mean, it was part of like the Kitab, that we have the Kitab. So the Kitab included shiurim on Shabbat. So the yeshiva, the place where the Hachamim would study, of course, they had shiurim on Shabbat. And the Rabbi Zera observed that many of the Hachamim on Shabbat were running to the Bet Midrash, walking quickly. I don't know if they were running or what, but they were like zooming to the Bet Midrash. Now, we mentioned this on different occasions. The pasuk says, "Im tashim mishabbat raglecha, asot chafasecha b'yom kodshi." That's Yeshaya Hanavi. He says that on Shabbat you should take a step back. Let your legs take a step back. And the Chachamim explained, what does it mean? Let your legs take a step back. It means that if during the week you're always going quickly, you're in a rush, on Shabbat, you should feel like royalty. You don't need to rush for anything.
Why on Shabbat? It should be every day.
Oh no, because on Shabbat, there's no work.
We're not running to work.
On Shabbat, part of the Onik Shabbat, part of the enjoyment of Shabbat.
That's
Right.
When we say that on Kiddush for Shabbat.
Yeah, exactly. So meaning on Shabbat, because it's Shabbat, we're like, God gave us a day where we can just enjoy ourselves, where it's oneg.
It's like the extra.
Yeah, so part of that,
Oneg.
what? Bekarat Shabbat oneg. Excellent. That's right. That's a kiddush. So that's why on Shabbat you're supposed to walk a little more slowly, right? Again, we said that we gave a class a few weeks ago on this in the morning, where I said if you're young and you love running and jumping or whatever, like I know some kids like playing basketball or whatever. Okay, but in general, it's a mitzvah to slow down on Shabbat and to feel shalom aleichem. It's a mitzvah on Shabbat to slow down and to enjoy the day. So he's saying, so the Bizarra is saying as follows: I saw the Chachamim, it was Shabbat, and they were walking quickly. That would violate the law of Im tashim mishabbat raglecha, right? So I didn't like that. So I said, you know what? They're making an avera, right? Amena. The rabbis are doing Chilul Shabbat in as much as they are walking quickly on Shabbat. But then, but then I heard the following lesson that was given by Rabbi Tanchum in the name of his teacher, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. And the lesson was similar to what Rabbi Helvo just told us in the name of Rav Huna. Namely, what did Rabbi Helvo tell us in the name of Rav Huna? When you go to the knees, it's a mitzvah to go quickly, right? When you come out of the knees, it's a mitzvah to slow down a little. Here, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi gave a similar lesson. Le'olam yarus adam lidvar mitzvah. Always a person, if he has the opportunity to do mitzvah, do it with fervor, meaning rush to it. It's an opportunity. Go do the mitzvah with energy. Ve'afilu b'Shabbat. Even Shabbat, meaning, you said, wait, Shabbat, what are you talking about Shabbat? Shabbat, we said you have to slow down. Shabbat, we said, Im tashim Shabbat raglecha, you're supposed to take a step back. So no. If you have an opportunity to do mitzvah, like a Torah class, like going to knees, whatever the mitzvah is, you're going to go do bikur cholim, maybe go visit your parents, the mitzvah to visit your parents, kibud avayim. So it's allowed, and now you're going to your parents' house. It's a mitzvah to visit your parents, you can run on Shabbat. Normally we say you can't run on Shabbat. Here you can run on Shabbat. Shene'emar acharei Adonai yelechu ke'aryeh yish'ad. When you're doing what God is telling you to do, you're following in the footsteps of God, so to speak, doing the mitzvah. You should be like a lion roaring, right? So you're doing the mitzvah, you feel a sense of energy, a sense of strength, right? Nothing's going to hold you back. So that's the reason that even on Shabbat, you're allowed to go quickly, run if you need to run, right?
You have you're using the pasuk in order to get some strength, in order to take from underneath the knees a pasuk that was shutosh mikra. It looks like I don't want you to run on Shabbat. Maybe I'm being funny about it. But don't run. I'm telling you not to run. That's what the pasuk says.
I understand. You're saying that I see.
Strength, rabbinically in the mind to be able to make Shabbat. No, I want to somewhat undo. On Shabbat. No, you can run.
Yeah. Let me explain. This is a good question. But if you look at the pasuk, I said the question he's asking is, but the pasuk says, "Im tashim Shabbat raglecha, asor chafasei min kodesh." You should not go. You should take a step back with your legs on Shabbat, right? So it's it. It's an absolute rule. So if it's an absolute rule, what are the Chachamim coming and telling me? No, for a mitzvah you're allowed to. But even though the pasuk does say, just to be fair to the Chachamim, nede'an nirudefa ladat et Adonai. But okay, fair enough. I understand your point. What? Yeah, that's a pasuk in Hosea. Nede'ah. We want to have knowledge of God. Nirdefa ladat et Adonai. For this, we're going to rush. So that's rushing to the knis. Where do you have an experience of God? I said, you go to Israel, you have an experience of God. You just came back from Israel, it's beautiful, you feel connected, right? You go to the Bet HaMikdash, and today we have the Kotel, okay, we have Harabait. But in the days of the Bet HaMikdash, you go to the Bet HaMikdash, there you have an experience, okay? Yerushalayim, today you have an experience. Outside, in the knis. You're not in Israel, but you're in the knis. You feel the Shekhinah, certain Kedusha in the Knis, that's what we're supposed to behave ourselves. There's a certain Kedusha, so that's rushed. You rush towards that Kedusha, right? You want to rush towards it. But I want to answer your question. There's no contradiction between the Pasukim. The Pasuk says, Im tashim mishabat raglecha, your regel. Asot hapasecha. And then he says, I'm talking about you doing things for yourself. This is not for you. This is not for you. This is mitzvah. Mitzvah is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You see? You see? And that's why the Pasuk says, that's allowed. But hapasecha, take a step back. So now you have to rush because, I don't know, you have something personal that you're doing, I don't know, whatever. Take it easy. It's Shabbat. Relax. Yeah.
What does that exactly mean?
So little means your regel on Shabbat, take a step back. Tashiv. Take it back. Meaning,
it says it's like they're asking.
No, because later on he's saying that if you do this, God is going to bless you. If you follow the Shabbat, not just on the things, the obvious things like don't light fire, okay, that's obvious. Don't cook, okay, that's obvious. Don't work, that's obvious. But he says, no. Yeshaya Navi says, you want to get rewarded for being Shomer Shabbat in this world? Im tashim mishpat raglecha. Even something as simple as that, to walk quickly. Don't walk quickly, take it easy. It's Shabbat, relax. Don't feel any pressure on Shabbat. But in contrast, if you're going to the knis, you're allowed to rush. If you're going to do a mitzvah, you're going to visit your parents, whatever the mitzvah is, you're allowed to rush, even on Shabbat.
So rush to serve God and slow down for yourself.
Exactly.
Which
Well
makes
said.
sense. That's why you're going to shul quickly and you're leaving
Shul slowly. And that's how the Bizera, when he used to see the rabbis rushing to the Shi'ur Torah, he thought they were making a sin. But then he heard that to serve God, you are allowed to, and it's a mitzvah to go quickly. Right? And that's what the Bizera says, Anana me Karahit. Now, when I saw this, I also started going quickly. I started rushing to knis myself on Shabbat, having learned this special law. So if you want to run on Shabbat, zoom to knis.
And that would apply this even outside of Shabbat. Run.
Oh yeah, of course, because the idea is you want to rush to do any mitzvah. Anytime you have an opportunity to do mitzvah, you want to rush to do it.
Yeah,
Right?
it's always with the lights and the sirens.
I drive.
Yeah.
I just told my guys, like next time, tell us to slow down.
So no, it's saying asot chavetzecha b'yom kodshi, meaning stop doing your chores or your
Exactly. Stop doing your chores on my holy day, which is the Sabbath. And if you do that, I'll put you on the high places of the earth as a reward for not just following the regular laws of Shabbat that we all know about, but even these simple laws. You say, what's the big deal? I'm walking. Well, I'm not lighting a cigarette. I'm not cooking. I'm just walking quickly. He says, no, slow down. God is going to reward you for that. That's the insight of Isaiah, that he's telling us, even for something simple like that, you get a reward. Yeah? Okay.
Except for the mitzvah on Shabbat.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be lackadaisical.
There you go. Exactly. When a person has the opportunity to do a mitzvah, even on Shabbat, you rush. There was something happened. It was a lovely story. And it shows like when you get to do a mitzvah, just go for it. Like, don't be lazy. And so my son, Rabbi Joe, he's very busy. He's like great. He's doing all these things, synagogue classes, high tech now, and stuff like that. So he's all over the place. One of his kids happened a month ago, even less than a month ago. One of the older members of the congregation wasn't there. Right? They started asking around, this. Nobody knows where he is. He's an older person. So where does he live? Nobody knows where he lives. Finally, somebody identified the building where he lives in. So my son went there. He said, he wants to find the person. Maybe something happened. He was older. He lives alone, no wife, no children, no nothing. So he finds a apartment building, nobody knows, there's no names. He goes apartment to apartment to apartment to apartment, sees a mezuzah. So let me try that one. Knocks on the door, nobody answers. Right, but whatever. Now he's listening, but he hears, inside the apartment, he hears water running.
Wow.
So he's like knocking. Doesn't know what to do. He calls up Chaverim. He's there at the apartment. This is in the city. He doesn't even know the guy lives there. It could be some other guy. Who the heck knows, right? Calls up Chaverim. They come there very quickly. They break down the door. The person is there, mamash, on the verge of death. Chazid. It's a true story. Immediately they call up Hatzalah. Hatzalah comes. They save the guy's life. They resuscitate him. They save his life. And I told myself, this is the idea of to rush to a mitzvah. It's not just to go quickly. Meaning, when you're doing a mitzvah,
Go out of the water.
do it. Like if I have an opportunity to make money, I have a client, I have to drive, I'll go to Las Vegas, I'll go here, I'll go there, I'll do this, I'll do it, right? I want to make the money. Here you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah. You do it. Meaning, do what you need to do. If you have to break down the door, if you have to figure it out, and they saved his life. Literally saved his life. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the best part of the story is Chazit, the guy his apartment was in horrible condition. They got donations, they got money from people to fix his apartment. Yeah, so anyway, that's a good, right? You understand the idea of doing things with fervor. All right. I think that's his army personality got into action.
Rambo.
What?
Rambo.
Yeah. Okay, so that was that. So, okay. Let's go now to the next paragraph. Let's go.
What is the, I forgot the saying where, even little things, God wants to mabeh mitzvot, even on the simple things that you would be doing anyway.
Right.
God gives you the opportunity to make a mitzvah, even on something you would have done anyway.
Right.
You're eating anyway,
בכל דרכיך דעהו והוא יישר אורחותיך. הרמב"ם in הלכות דעות, at the beginning of הלכות דעות, he says that whatever you do should be לשם שמיים. Right? בכל דרכיך דעהו, even like eating should be לשם שמיים. Even whatever you do should always be לשם שמיים. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. So he brings the pasuk in Mishle, בכל דרכיך דעהו והוא יישר אורחותיך. Okay, let's do the next paragraph, and you're going to see the relationship between the two paragraphs. אמר רבי חלבו אמר רב הונא. Same רבי חלבו, same רב הונא. If there is a knis, and now let's say the knis is locked, and you decide to pray outside the knis, do not pray with your back to the knis. Do not pray with your back to the knis.
you're allowed on Friday night.
The wise guy. It's haram, meaning you're outside. Of course, inside, of course, it's haram, but outside, I'm standing now with my back to the knis. And I want to face Eretz Yisrael. Can't do that. But when I pray, I have to face Eretz Yisrael. You cannot pray with your back to the knis. I'm going to explain this in a moment. Yeah, what's the big deal? What is the big deal? The knis is closed. I can't enter the knis. Haram. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says, Saviv reshaim mitallachun kerum zulut libnei adam. The reshaim, they're always going around. They're never willing to join the kahal. They're never willing to enter the holy place. They're going around the holy place, and the reason they're going around the holy place is because they're trying to devise what they can do to cause harm. So they're going around. They don't want to enter. Dracula cannot see the light. The Sha'im cannot enjoy the knis. So kerum zulut libnei adam. Okay. Amar Abaye la amran ela de'ala mihidar apele bekanishar. Abaye explains the idea of praying outside the knis is haram if your back is to the knis. If you're facing the knis, it's allowed, right? If you're facing, you turn around and you're facing the knis, 100% allowed. So there's going to be a story now. So there was a person who was praying outside the knis, meaning his back to the knis. Right, so I'll give you an example. Let's say you're standing outside here where the security guard is. Okay, so you can pray facing the knis. That's allowed, right? 100% allowed. But let's say you decide to face with your back to the knis and now you're facing the bay. That's haram. An example.
When we do tashlich, what do you mean?
No, when you do tashlich, you're not praying to Hashem. You're not praying to Hashem. It's not a prayer. It's a ceremony. We could talk about tashlich another time. But a prayer, what?
If somebody were to be standing, let's say, in the side
Yeah.
Where east should be that way to pray.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you. I think you're right. In retrospect, we shouldn't do that. I think it was a mistake. Right, like during COVID, you're saying we
Yeah,
prayed
we
outside.
prayed outside.
I think that was a mistake. Yeah, I think it was a mistake.
We should turn around and
We
face
should turn around and face the shul, or be on the side where we're not giving our back to the shul.
Even not just in the
Yeah.
main room,
Yeah.
outside the shul.
Because the Aron HaKodesh, you should always face the Aron HaKodesh. So what determines where you're facing, what's front, what's back, where the Aron HaKodesh is.
Is that
So
only on the
if the Aron
property?
HaKodesh is here, and I'm standing here, I have to face this way. If I'm standing here, I have to face this way. But I can't stand here in back of the Aron HaKodesh and then face this way. I agree with that.
How
I
far can you
think-
go? Let's say you're in the next door house.
No, that's a lot. That's already fine.
Or if you're across the street.
No, it's fine.
So it's
Because you're
within the property of.
yeah, exactly. Meaning you're within the, and it's visually somebody sees you standing there, they see you praying, and your back is to the knees. You're disrespecting the knees. You're disrespecting the Aron HaKodesh. The Sefer Torah is in the Aron HaKodesh, right? So it's haram.
What's considered praying? Just Amidah?
The Amidah is the tefillah. When it says kol hamitpalel, the word tefillah means the Amidah. You're in the presence of the Almighty. So for example, if I'm saying Kriyat Shema or I'm studying Torah, I don't believe this law applies, right? But mitpalel means you're standing in prayer in the presence of the Almighty, and now your back is to the Sefer Torah. So now the question becomes: so who's the Almighty?
Right.
Right, who's the Almighty exactly? It's a very important question. Okay. So it's not just the Amidah, meaning any prayer where you're saying words to the Almighty, whatever. It could also be the Vidui. You're saying Vidui, right? Or Le David Elecha Adonai Nafshi Esa, right? You're saying prayers to the Almighty.
We would say, like, let's say whatever the rabbis designated as the prayer. So if it happens to be Shacharit.
Exactly. Baruch She'amah
the bounds of that prayer.
Exactly. So Baruch She'amah V'Yaolam. That's part of the tefillah, meaning you're saying it to God, right? Any words that you're saying towards the Almighty. Kriyat Shema is a type of Talmud Torah.
Right.
Okay, so that's why I made a distinction with Kriyat Shema. Humbly, I say it humbly. I'm willing to change my mind if somebody shows me otherwise. But to me, tefillah means you're speaking words towards the Almighty.
So would there be leniency like Kabbalat Shabbat when people turn around?
The problem is you're saying Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala.
It's what?
You're saying Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala.
You're addressing God, basically.
Yeah. The problem there is another problem.
Well, that was added also, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, let's say I say a beautiful poem of Yudah Levi praying to God, right?
Yeah.
I'm praying to God.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who composed the beautiful words of the. There's a poem that Yudah, many poems that Yudah Levi speaks to the Almighty. Beautiful words, right? You can't. You're by the knees, and now you're giving your back to the knees.
Right.
So who are you facing exactly? So in the case of Kabbalat Shabbat, there's a few problems with that. I'll get to it in a moment. But for now, I will. So I'll get to that in a moment. So he says like this. So there was a situation where a person was praying outside the knees with his back to the knees. Halaf Eliyahu Navi passed by. Idmele ketayah. He saw him. He appeared to him like he was like a Arab traveler or something. Meaning he didn't appear as Eliyahu Navi to the guy. Amalek kadu bar kayam kameh marach. So Eliyahu Navi told this guy, how many gods do you have? You have two gods. You have two gods in front of you. Two gods. I thought it's one God. Shalaf Safsila B'Katla. He took out his knife and he killed him. Okay, was it Eliyahu Navi? Was it actually an Arab? I don't know. But in the days of the Gemara, there was no Islam. Just so you know, Islam didn't exist yet. So of course, Islam came after the Gemara. I want to explain this. What? Bedouin, Ketayah. Yeah, okay. But it was Eliyahu Navi. Gemara says it was Eliyahu Navi. Idmele Ketayah. Okay. Let me explain these two things. I had some discussions regarding, for example, turning the back to the Aron HaKodesh, which is forbidden. So somebody said, well, what's the halacha? Who says? And okay, I'm going to give you a little background. I actually wrote an article about this. It was published in, that journal that we have in the community. What's it called? Chakira. Chakira comes out once a quarter. It's probably, they have a bunch of chakirot here. Yeah, so they published my article on the matter. And I think it's an important point that I'd like to share with you. People like to analyze this from an overly legalistic perspective. So the analysis would go something like this. Am I allowed to turn my back to the Aron HaKodesh while I'm praying? Well, apparently not. Okay, no, but because the Sefer Torah is it, yes, but it's above 10 tefachim. Because it's above 10 tefachim, I'm allowed to do it. If it was less than 10 tefachim, I wouldn't be allowed to do it. Meaning, the height of the Sefer Torah is 10 tefachim above the ground. So 10 tefachim, what is that, 40 inches? It's 40 inches above the ground. So because the Sefer Torah are 40 inches above the ground, I can turn my back to the Sefer Torah. They're trying to analyze it from a legalistic perspective.
Meaning in the days of old, it used to be less than 10, it was on the floor.
So first, I don't know any knis where they have the Sefer Torah, within 10 tefachim of the ground. Honestly, I just want to be very upfront here. And I don't know any knis that says it because the Sefer Torah is less than 10 tefachim from the ground, we can somehow, ignore it or disrespect it or anything like that. But okay, put all that on side. That's a legalistic argument. And every legalistic argument can have a counter-legalistic argument. Okay, so fair enough. Okay? Fair enough. I want to ask a question. And I don't want to be disrespectful, and I'm obviously not going to do it, we're going to knis, but if somebody were to flip the birdie at his friend, the friend would get offended, right? Is that something that offends people? Because in our, what?
Flip the bird.
Finger. Finger.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay. I hope I didn't say anything wrong. Was that like a bad thing to say? No, it's just I was trying to say it in a clean fashion, so if it flipped the bird, okay, whatever. Somebody flips the bird at his friend. Now, what's happening here? Meaning, is there something objectively wrong? But it's a symbol. And the way human minds work is, we have symbols. All the words I'm using are actually symbols, right? Right? Even the clothing I'm wearing is symbol. Like, a nice rabbi overcoat, whatever. Nobody is wearing this rabbi overcoat except for me. That's okay. That's the way the world works, right? If I'm an attorney and I'm coming to a person's office, and I'm going to come dressed nicely. I'm not going to come in, sneakers and running shorts. Right? It's just not going to happen. But what's wrong with it? I'm still a good attorney. I'm still know all this other stuff that you don't know. Nobody knows except for me, and I'm a great attorney. But I'm wearing shorts. Somebody's going to take me seriously if I did that, right? It's just a fact. So this is the way the human mind works. We transmit information with the symbols that we use, not just with the words we speak. So if somebody flips the birdie at one of us, we would be offended, right? So if somebody cuts me off and hey, what's wrong with you? And I wouldn't flip the birdie. But you understand, right? You get the idea, right? Okay.
There's a place and time.
There's a place and time. And as a rabbi in this world, I prefer not to engage in such base behavior. But okay, no problem. Okay, now, is there a law that says that you can't flip the bird, God forbid, and chas v'shalom towards the Adon HaKodesh? Chas v'shalom, God forbid.
No, because
There's no law.
It's just common sense. It's
Because
not,
we understand the meaning of that.
Right, and it doesn't mean anything technically, but that's the way the world uses it today.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pejorative.
Right.
You're insulting, with your language, you're insulting the Sefer Torah. So is there a specific law that says no? Well, but this is what it means, right? Now, what? And it doesn't matter, right? But you understand why the legalistic, all this legalism, it's above 10 tefachim, it's below, it's irrelevant. It misses the point. So now if I'm talking to you and I was giving a class, and I'm not going to do it, but I give my back to all of you as I'm talking, you feel disrespected, and rightfully so. Because in our society, when you give your back to somebody, it's a disrespectful act. But it's not just in our society. So get this. In the days of the first Bet HaMikdash, when the people were in the Bet HaMikdash, there was a cult of people at the end. This is at the end, right before the destruction. And one of the reasons for the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash is, guess what? The people used to turn their back to the Aron HaKodesh, at this time in the Bet HaMikdash, the actual Aron HaKodesh, where the Ten Commandments are, and they would face the rising sun. And Yechezkel HaNavi, he decries this horrible thing of turning the back to the Bet HaMikdash, because, how disrespectful can you get? So you say, I'm praying to the rising sun. So my question is, when people turn their back to the Aron HaKodesh in the Knis, who are they praying to? It's not to the rising sun. So who are they praying to? I don't know. I don't have the answer. But that's what Eliyahu Navi just said. He said, who is the second person that you're praying to? Don't know.
Isn't it they claim that they're welcoming some, I think Michael or something before Shabbat?
Are you allowed to pray to an
I
angel
don't know.
in the presence of
who are they
God?
welcoming? They're welcoming somebody who's coming through that door, right?
You're changing. The technically is that what I believe is that you're leaving the week and you're welcoming Shabbat. So whatever. Same
Okay, I'll
thing,
explain to you, as long as you
somebody-
brought that up.
Somebody gets married also, the Ashkenazim, they go around the thing 8 times. Does it mean they're doing something wrong?
No, but that's not a prayer. But that's not a prayer. Let me explain to you. I want to.
I never did it also Kohanim. My father never covered our head either Kohanim.
Yeah.
That was a custom.
Yeah, let me address your point because it's a fair point. So the custom comes actually from Shara Kavanot of the Ari, of the Moharachu, and Shara Kavanot, he brings the custom of the Mekubalim in the days of Maran HaKadosh, the Ari, the head of the Mekubalim, and this is what they used to do. And I'll describe it to you exactly as it appears in Shara Kavanot, because I studied it. They used to have a 2-part Kabbalat Shabbat. One part was done outside the Knis in the mountains, and then the second part was done inside the Knis. So what would they do? So there's a Kabbalistic significance to the moment that the sun descends beneath the horizon. That's the moment that the Shabbat enters. So what would they do? They would go to the hilltops in Sfat, which is beautiful, by the way, and they would face the setting sun, and they would say, Lecha dodi likrat kala. We're waiting for God to appear. And at the moment that the sun set, at that very moment, they would start Mizmor Shirei Yom HaShabbat Tov Leodot LaAdonai Muzameh LeShibcha Elyon, and they would turn around, of course.
Go back to the...
They would face now Yerushalayim. Meaning they would start looking at the sun, and the reason they would be looking at the sun is, and they're praying Lecha dodi likrat kala, we're welcoming the Shabbat, and the moment the sun sets, at that exact instant, they had certain kavanot, by the way, whatever the kavanot were, Kabbalistic ideas, they would turn around and say Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbat and accept the Shabbat. What is the connection between that and a bunch of people, I'm sorry, who never read the Kabbalah, who never even knew that this is in Shara Kavanot, and they're in the Knis, and they don't know what time sunset is, or did the sun set, or did it set, or is it setting, or is it setting in 10 minutes, in 20 minutes? Did it set 10 minutes ago? Did it set 20 minutes ago? What is the connection between that and this? Nobody. From the Mekubalim, nobody would dare turn their back to the Hechal. By the way, the Ben Ish Chai brings this custom, and he says they would go to the courtyard of the Knis. Nobody did it in the Knis. It's ludicrous to think that any great rabbi would have done this in the Knis. Of course not. And like you think, oh, I'm like such a genius for knowing this. No, I'm not. It's right there in the book. Just open up the book, read Shara Kavanot, and you'll see it. It's there, black and white. Ditto for the Ben Ish Chai. So I'm against this custom. I think it's disrespectful to the Sefer Torah, and it was never our custom. By the way, it was never our custom. It was never our custom. None of our parents did it. Now you go to all the. Now the funniest thing is, it doesn't matter which synagogue I go to. Now the idea of Shara Kavanot is you're facing, what direction does the sun set in? West? No, exactly. Okay. You're facing the west. So what's developed in Israel now? The custom that's developed in Israel is not to face the setting sun, which is the original, is to always give the back to the Hechal. Meaning wherever the Hechal is, you face opposite. That's a fact. Go to any knis which does it. They're all, now, I was in Netanya, I pray in a knis in Netanya, where Jerusalem is to the south, and because of that, the Hechal is facing the south.
Yeah.
So where do they face? The north. So the whole custom now became, we have to give our back to the Aron HaKodesh. I mean, are you realizing how ludicrous this thing is? It's sacrilegious. If you're going to do the custom, do it. It's not the back to the Aron HaKodesh. That's not the custom. It's to face the west, wherever the setting sun is.
So this
It drives me crazy. I'm sorry.
in the courtyard.
That's funny.
But the Yemenites don't do that.
No.
Yemenites.
Syrians also never did it.
We never did it.
I also never covered my head.
See, the Moroccan side of my family, they do.
Oh, the
that.
Moroccans, they do it big time, yeah.
They do that. Yeah,
But that's also-
Ashkenazim do it.
By the way, the Moroccans in the old country never did this. I spoke to Harav Shlush, who was Moroccan. Rabbi Shlush was the chief rabbi of Netanya for like 50 years, or maybe, something like that. Great, one of the elders of Jerusalem from the days of the Ottoman Turks. That's how old he was. He was raised in Jerusalem before even the British mandate. Wow. And he says, and I have a recording of him. I actually recorded him. He says, they never, not the Moroccans, not the Yerushalmi, not the Spanioli, not the Iraqis, not the Iranians. He gets the whole list of the Yemenites, of course. Nobody turned their back on Kabbalat Shabbat. This was a reserve for the Mekubalim, who were the Talmidim of Ha'ari, and they would go to the mountains That was a special type of meditation. Beautiful, by the way. Beautiful meditation. They did it. But the rest of the people, no, you go to knis, nobody turns their back at the knis. Now I want to end with one last thought.
Yeah, when I'm growing up, like I said, when I'm better out,
Nobody did it. Nobody. Now you go to Bet Torah, everybody does. Oh, do they still do it?
I don't know.
Somebody told me they stopped it. That somebody stopped it. That's what I heard.
That's Joey.
Joey Mozeri? Oh,
My brother does it also, he said.
Very good.
yeah. What is this thing? But here's a great, and this is a proof that it's wrong. I'm going to prove to you everything I said is correct, but I'm going to prove to you slam dunk that this whole custom is wackadoodle.
They do
Okay.
it in Kotel, too. They turn around from the wall.
They do. it
Okay.
in
So
the
now,
hotel.
yes.
Really?
So I go to the Kotel Friday when I'm there. Okay. Now, this whole legalistic discussion is the Sefer Torah above 10 tefachim? Oh, it's okay to turn the back. If it's below 10 tefachim, you can't turn it because it. Okay. That whole legalistic discussion, that whole thing. The Kotel. It is opposite the Kodesh HaKodashim. What are you even talking about? It's not holy enough? So what are you doing? It's ridiculous. So you go to the Kotel, they're all like giving it back to the Kotel.
But the same people that do that, when they leave, they walk back.
Yeah, exactly. When they leave, I've seen that. They walk backwards and this and that, like, we're falling over, tripping over each other. But for the prayer, boom, it's ridiculous. I mean, come on, guys. It's just like, enough.
It's a wrap. It's not consistent, it's a wrap.
Joey Moseri, and he knows customs of everybody,
Yeah,
totally off.
yeah.
Because hokey pokey, who is hokey pokey? It's like, wasn't done, shouldn't be done, almost the same idea.
Okay, so there you go. That's I mean, now you understand the idea of walking fast from knis and how it's related to giving your back to the knis. Meaning, we want to show respect. And how do we show respect? We show respect through what we consider to be important. So if you're like rushing from something, I've had it, there's enough of this. So you leave a little more slowly when you leave the knis. When you go to the knis, you're rushing, you're excited to go to the knis. Similarly, when you pray, if you're outside the knis, right outside the knis, don't give your back to the knis, face the knis.
Give that speech right before the fast is over and Yom Kippur.
No, but you're not running to leave the
All right, gentlemen, I'll take that as a sign. Everybody have a